Basic programming concepts. These are the fundamentals of any programming languages, but we're going to use Swift on focus here. So, variables. What's a variable? A variable is some kind of a label for a storage location, and usually that location is somewhere in memory. And this references some information. Usually this information will be some data, like a number or some text, an image, or any other type of objects, like in a video game could be a player or the score of a player. Now, there's two different types of types, or two different ways. The first one is that the values exist, such as whole numbers, decimal numbers, text, objects, and data structures. So all of these are a bit different and work differently. And let's take a look at the static ones. So a static type, these are variables that are predetermined types, which means that the program knows what type of values we want to store in it before even running the program. For example, here we have var count, and we say it's an int and it's equal to 0. So int are whole numbers. We're going to get more into it in the following lectures, but know that this can only store whole numbers, int, and the program knows because we specifically said that this is a static type. It cannot change. Static means it stays the way it is. It can only store numbers. And in the very next example, the text, var text, string is equal to hello world. Now, this text can only store string, which are basically a series or a sequence chunk of characters. Okay? And it can only store this sequence of characters. So I cannot assign 0 to it instead of hello world. It will not work. Since it's a static type, the program will understand and will throw an error. So let's move to the next type, which is the dynamic type. So dynamic types are variables which values are inferred by the program. By inferred, meaning that if we don't specify what values we want there, then the program would say to itself, this looks like this is a whole number that we want to store, or any whole number. So, for example, var count is equal to 0. Here we did not say it's an int, okay? We did not say it's an integer. But the program already understood that we're trying to store whole numbers. Now, this could get tricky for the count, because let's say you did not want a whole number, you wanted a decimal value. This won't work. The program will probably crash because we did not specify that it could also store decimal values like 0.5 or 2.6. Okay? And then the var text is equal to hello world. Again, here we did not specify that it's of type string. So what's going to happen is that the compiler or the program will automatically say, okay, we're trying to store strings here. So you cannot store a number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so on. It probably will crash here. So let's move on to the next slide. Now we instead of variables, there's also something else called a constant. So a constant is very much similar to a variable, but like its name infers, constant means that once the value is set, it cannot be changed. Okay? So let first name is equal to John. So as you can see, the key word here is let. So whenever you want a constant, you put the word let instead of var. Okay? So let first name is equal to John. And if after in the program we try to change that and say the variable first name is first name equal Michael, this will give you a red error, as you can see, and it says cannot assign to let value first name, which in layman terms mean that it's a constant, you cannot change it. It has to stay John, okay? Which is great. Let's say if you want to use the value pi, you know it's 3.14, so you don't want anyone to change your program and put it to value of 10, right? Pi will needs to stay pi, all right? So now let's say you want to print those variables and those constants in the console. Now, if some of you don't know what I mean by console, you probably want to check the Xcode lectures, okay? But don't worry about it if you have not seen those lectures yet. Don't worry about it. We can still you can still understand what the console is, which is basically a log, okay? You can check the values of a variable or a constant using the print or println for print line function. Okay, it prints the value in the console or in the log. So let first name equal John, and if you use the line println my first name is, and you put backslash, parenthesis, first name, and close that parenthesis, then this would put my first name is John. Or you can see in the console output at the end, the very last line in this slide, my first name is John. Okay, so you use print or println. Now the difference between print and println is that when you put println, it's going to print what you're writing on one line. And if you just use print, it's going to keep printing on the same line. It's going to keep going. Okay, I usually use println. It's always neater, okay, and clear. Now, something else you want to know that you're going to use are comments. Comments, it's a good practice to put comments in any code that you write, even for yourself or for other developers that will read your code. Why? Because sometimes you might do something that's a bit tricky, and in 6 months from now or in a year from now, you're not going to remember what you are trying to do. So it's always good to write comments, things that the program does not read, but only you can read, or any other humans. So there's two different types of commands. You have the inline comment. It's two slashes, and it will write it in green color, okay? And then you have the block that starts with a slash star and ends with a star slash, okay? So this is also a comment, but the difference between the block and the inline is that the inline can obviously be only on one line, and the block can be on as many lines as you want. Here it's only on 2 lines, but you can write it on 100 lines if you want to, as long as it starts with the slash star and ends with the star slash. All right, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next lecture.